Well, it's been about 8 weeks now since I last managed to get out on the kayak. It's been a combination of availability. I've got to work, unfortunately, and these days I only get about a day a week where I can spend kayak fishing. And therefore, kayak fishing being kayak fishing, particularly sea fishing, you need the weather, and when I've been available I just hadn't had the weather conditions to do what I wanted to do. So it's been really frustrating, and you could say a bit of cabin fever. But fortunately today, as you can see, I've got a lovely sea at the moment. I've got a great forecast, very, very light onshore winds. Although later the forecast is for not the winds to pick up, but for a bit of a swell to come in. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So get out there and hopefully pick up a few fish. But what I'm going to do today, the plan today is to drift over clean ground, a couple of rods out, one each side of the kayak, dragging some bait along the bottom. And what I'll be mainly after is flatties. March, April time is a good time to think about targeting Plaice when they've moved in from deeper water, they've moved in from offshore and they're keen to feed. So that's the main target species, but as always, I'll basically try and pick up what I can. Might get a couple of dogfish. I could do with a couple of dogfish to eat. But also, you never know, your luck, there might be one or two shoals of mackerel that will pass through and I can pick up a few mackerel. Also an outside chance this time of year, we get a bit of a spring, early summer run of cod or codling. And you never know, I might get lucky and go over a shoal of that and you could pick up a cod. But Plaice is what I'm mainly after. I've got a mix of baits with me for the Plaice fishing. I've got some black lug with me, some frozen black lug. But I've also got some fish baits. I've got some launce fillets, only about 3.5 inches long. Got some squid fillets, and I've also got some small mackerel fillets. So the idea is to mix it up. So on this rod I've got a bit of black lug just covering the shank of the hook, and then a small launce fillet. And on the other rod that I'm going to have out on the other side of the kayak, I've got black lug and I've got a small strip of squid. But we'll see what works. But as usual with the Plaice fishing, got a bit of bling, got a few beads, black and green beads to hopefully attract the fish. The rig itself, just a straightforward running ledger, trace of about 3 to 4 feet, a couple of ounces of lead, and lower that down to the bottom. And then let out a bit of slack, pop it in the rod holder and sit back and hopefully pick up a fish. Well, the breeze has picked up a little bit now. When I first started the drift, it was basically flat calm and I was hardly getting any drift at all. And I need that bit of movement for the Plaice fishing. But it's picked up a little bit now. So what I've done is it's basically coming slightly onshore. So I've paddled out further now into deeper water, paddled into the breeze, paddled out further, got the rods down again, and I'm actually getting a much better drift now. I've got the drift chute just on the bow there, just to keep my bow into the breeze, keep the lines running out in front of me. So yeah, I can see on the rod tip now, got a bit of movement, which is indication that the bait is being dragged along the bottom. So that's great. If it stays like this, it'll be brilliant. It'll be a matter of drift along towards the shore and along the shoreline, and then I'll have to paddle back out into the breeze. Paddle out and then set up a drift again. At the moment I'm on the ebb tide, so I've got wind against tide. But when the tide turns in about an hour's time, and I'll get more or less wind and tide in the same direction, so I get a much better drift then, much more movement to hopefully to attract the flatty. Well, it looks like on the right hand rod here I've got the first bite. We're just coming up to the turn of the tide now. Tide will start flooding in at the moment, and yeah, there's a little bit of there's some activity on that rod. Yeah, it looks like we got something. and hopefully it will be the target species. It feels like some weight there. Yes. See what it is. And it's a Plaice. Fantastic. I always think it's pleasing when you manage to get the target species. I mean, always grateful to catch anything, of course, but when you set out for a species and you get one, it's always pleasing. So that's fantastic. So they are here. For those of you interested in baits, that Plaice was caught on as a small bit of squid that I put up on over the hook to cover the shank of the hook, and then I've got about a 4-inch piece of strip of sand eel fillet, and of course the beads, the black and the green beads. Well, while I've been dealing with that other fish, we've got a bite on the other rod now. And the inevitable dogfish, but I could do with a couple of dogfish to eat. Well, the tide has turned now, and so that's great, and I've got a beautiful drift now, a nice little bit of breeze, fantastic drift, and breeze and tide going in the right direction. So what I'm going to do now, after catching those couple of fish, I've drifted fairly close to shore now, so I'm going to paddle out now to deeper water, paddle straight into this breeze, paddle out to about 50 feet of water, and then set the drift up again, and that'll basically drift me back towards the shoreline. So that's the general idea. Have a good drift back towards the shoreline, paddle back up tide, upwind, to reset the drift. And hopefully, I'm really pleased to pick up the one Plaice, the target species, but hopefully I'll see if I can pick up another one. Well, looks like we got something on this rod, and it's banging like a Plaice. They've got a distinctive bang. It might not be, but it is. That time it was on the little bit of lugworm, black lug, and again a strip of sand eel, strip of lawns. And I was lucky with that fish because I didn't have to unhook it, it's just fallen off the hook, so lucky. Well, looks like we got something, and it's got that typical Plaice knock, so fingers crossed. It was a reasonable size as well. And it is a Plaice. Yeah, this one's quite a nice one. This one was caught on the black lug, a little bit of black lug, and again a strip of sand eel. It's quite interesting about the colours that you use for coloured beads that you use as an attractor for Plaice. Anyone who's gone Plaice fishing before will know that they are attracted to bling, and of course you can use bling beads, you can use beads and sequins, you can use beads and spoons to attract them, but I personally like to keep it fairly simple. It's a few beads, I've got 6 here, maybe 6 to 10 beads, but as regards colour, as I say, I can't be sure, and I'm sure no one can be really sure what colour combinations work best, but I've always found black and green work well. And it is said that the black beads imitate, the Plaice may think they're mussels, baby mussels, little pea mussels, which of course Plaice feed on. I mean, that could be true, they could be mistaken for beads, for baby mussels. But one thing's for sure, they definitely are attracted to things like beads. In fact, I've seen, I think there's a video out on YouTube where they actually go for the beads. It's filmed underwater where they're actually going for the beads. So they definitely are an attraction. Well, it looks like we're in again, I'm pleased to say. And it does feel like another Plaice. Interesting observation, they've all been caught actually fairly close to shore in under 40 feet of water. I haven't had to paddle out very far at all to find the fish. There it comes. And it is another lovely Plaice. this is what I've caught most of the plaice on today. And as I mentioned earlier, I've got a bit of frozen black lug. I mean, fresh lug or ragworm would have been better, but that's what I've got, frozen black lug. Just a small piece, just up the shank of the hook and over the eye. And this is I'm only using a size 1 hook. And then just a small piece of sand eel or launce fillet, only about 3 to 4 inches long. That seems to have worked today better than some of the other baits that I've had. But I think it's a matter of this time of year. When they come in from deep water after spawning, they're very keen to feed. And to be honest, I've found in the past you can catch them on just about anything. Just a strip of squid or a strip of mackerel. I've caught plenty of plaice on in the past. Well, it turned out to be a pretty good day. I definitely got the target species. I think I've got 5 plaice there and a couple of dogfish. So what I'm going to do is get these plaice cleaned up while I'm here at sea and clean the dogfish up, and then get them home and work out what I'm going to do with them. Now it appears that many of you that follow the channel and watch the videos actually like to see the whole process, not just the going out and catching the fish and how to catch them, but actually how to deal with them and ways of cooking them. So we'll make this a catch and cook. So I'll cook a couple of these plaice, probably bake them whole, but first we'll get them cleaned up. Well, as I mentioned on the kayak, I'm going to bake a couple of these plaice, and they're going to be baked on a bed of potatoes, tomatoes, finely chopped onions and mixed herbs. So what I've got here, I've got some peeled and partly boiled potatoes which have been sliced about 3 mil thick, some sliced fresh tomatoes, some finely chopped onions, some finely chopped parsley, finely chopped dill, couple of sprigs of thyme and some bay leaves. So I first lightly oiled the tray with olive oil, and then put a layer of potatoes, the sliced potatoes on, then a layer of the sliced tomatoes slightly overlapping, then carry on potatoes, tomatoes, potatoes, tomatoes to fill the tray up. Sprinkle over the chopped onions, season with salt and freshly ground black pepper, and then added the herbs.
and then finish it off with a drizzle of olive oil. Now first I'm going to bake this in the oven at about 200 degrees for about 15 minutes, and then take it out the oven and then pop the Plaice on and then pop it back in the oven to finish it off. Now these ingredients here that the Plaice are going to be baked on, these are going to be served with the Plaice. Now to add the Plaice. The potatoes have just started to take on a bit of colour and the tomatoes are just starting to dry out. So we'll pop the Plaice on. And then season. With salt and freshly ground black pepper. Add a couple of knobs of butter. And some lemon. And then pop that back in the oven and for about 20 minutes. So there it is, our fantastic Plaice, one of the UK's favourite fish to eat. So it was great to get out there and do a bit of fishing after about 8 weeks, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic to sit down now and enjoy the catch. So once again, I hope you found that useful, and many thanks for watching.